What if Captain America never returned? What if America's new symbol was Deadpool? The world needed a hero. Steve Rogers had fallen, and when America searched for a new captain, they did not find a soldier. They did not find a symbol. They found Wade. They found Captain Deadpool. It was the day the world stopped believing in heroes. The front lines bent under Hydra's weight. Tanks rolled through burning cities, and Red Skull's soldiers marched like an army of shadows. Their banners blazed green and black, the colors of a new order. And then he appeared. Steve Rogers, Captain America. He did not come with an army. He had no tanks, no air support. Only a shield in his hand, and a handful of men who believed in a symbol more than in victory. Red Skull waited for him atop the ruins of a conquered fortress. He looked at Rogers like a trophy that had always been his by right. Their clash was inevitable. Two men who had become ideologies. Freedom versus tyranny. Hope versus fear. Survivors later said the fight looked like a duel of gods. Every strike of Rogers' shield thundered like a storm. Every blow from Skull split the air like lightning. The fortress shook to its foundations. Hydra's experimental weapons detonated one after another, turning the battlefield into hell. And then, silence. When the smoke cleared, only one figure stood atop the ruins. Red Skull, his face dripping with blood, twisted in triumph. Steve Rogers was gone. No body, no details, nothing. Hydra stole S.H.I.E.L.D. and declared to the world Captain America was dead. And as their propaganda spread across the front, the Allies believed it. That day, not only a man died, a symbol died, and with it, the hope of the world. The world stared at Hydra, and Hydra laughed. Red Skull fed the world triumph. Captain America is dead. America is broken. In Washington, desperation stank of fear. The generals knew one thing. If they did not create a new hero, the war was lost. The laboratories of the super soldier program turned into a slaughterhouse of hope. The formula that once created Rogers existed only in fragments. What remained was a broken copy, unstable, toxic, a mixture that could kill faster than a bullet. No one volunteered. Everyone knew stepping into the chamber meant one thing: death in agony. Everyone except him. Wade Wilson, mercenary, veteran of other people's wars, a man consumed by cancer, devoured day by day. He did not come for glory. He came for one last chance. When the chamber doors closed, hell began. The serum burned through his veins like lava. Cells exploded and were reborn. Cancer fought the poison. The serum fought him. And Wade screamed. He screamed so loud it echoed through the corridors like the roar of a monster. Technicians looked away. Doctors begged to shut it down. But when the smoke cleared and the doors opened, Wade still stood. He was not beautiful like Rogers. He was not a symbol. He was a burned, scarred shadow of a man, but he lived. And worse, his body would never die again. The commanders looked at him and saw something more than a hero. They saw a weapon, a soldier who could never be broken. They forced a costume onto him. They pressed a shield into his hand. And they told the world a lie. Captain America has returned. But it was not Steve Rogers. It was Wade Wilson, a man rejected by death. And thus was born Captain Deadpool. The world thought Steve Rogers was dead, that the ruins had swallowed him, along with all hope. But they were wrong. Rogers returned, not as a hero, not as a symbol of freedom. He returned as Hydra's weapon, twisted, broken, carrying a shield where the star had been replaced with a skull. Captain Hydra. For the world, it was a nightmare. The man they had loved, whose words had raised armies from the mud, now led Hydra to total victory. And against him stood not a legend, not a hero, a parody of the captain. Captain Deadpool, the man death had rejected. Two captains, two symbols, twisted reflections of the original. One, a cold, fanatical lie. The other, chaos in a costume, a blasphemous parody. Their meeting was inevitable. On the ruins of a shattered city, in the light of fire and Hydra's searchlights, shield met. Shield. The clash tore the air like thunder. Soldiers fell silent, too afraid to intervene. Captain Hydra fought with discipline, precision, the coldness of a soldier. Every strike, perfect. Every movement, calculated. But Wade did not fight like a man. He danced in chaos. He laughed in pain. He fell only to rise stronger. Rogers struck like a war machine. Deadpool answered like a storm without direction. Their shields smashed together again and again. Sparks lit the night, and the echoes of battle rolled across the field. Two symbols of America, one born of fanaticism, the other of madness, fought for the soul of the world. And finally, Hydra. Captain made a mistake. One move too slow, one crack in perfection. Deadpool struck like a beast. His shield shattered Hydra's. And Rogers, this Rogers, fell. Not in glory, not in honor. He fell in the mud, like the traitor he had become. But Rogers did not fall so easily. Shaken, bleeding, he rose again, and the duel raged on like eternity. Shields collided like meteors. Hydra soldiers and allies alike stood frozen. None dared to interfere. But Rogers was no longer the same man. His blows were perfect, but cold, without faith, without heart. Deadpool was no perfection. He was chaos without limits. Every time he fell, he rose stronger. Every time Rogers drove his shield into his body, the wounds closed before their eyes. And then came the end. Deadpool's strike shattered Hydra's shield. Its fragments scattered across the ground like glass. Rogers staggered back, shocked for the first time. Wade grabbed one of the shards, sharp, heavy, a remnant of a symbol that once protected freedom. He did not hesitate. The shard pierced Rogers' chest. Captain Hydra fell to his knees. His eyes stared empty, as if still unable to understand how he had lost. Deadpool leaned on the broken shield, breathing hard, and then spoke words all would remember. The shield was meant to defend America. Today, it ended betrayal. Rogers sank into the mud. The symbol of Hydra was dead. Hydra's soldiers scattered in panic, watching their new symbol fall in the mud. Deadpool stood alone among the ruins, dripping blood, holding a broken shard of the shield. But the war was not over. In the shadows, the true master of the game still waited. Johann Schmidt, Red Skull. He had triumphed over Rogers. He had fed the world his propaganda. He was Hydra's beating heart. Deadpool knew it was time to end him. He marched through the fortress ruins, every step like a drumbeat of judgment. At last he reached the command hall. The doors smashed apart, corridors painted red with blood, walls shredded with holes. And at the center, Red Skull, not triumphant, not speaking, dead, torn apart like prey. Deadpool froze in silence. It was not his doing. From the shadows a shape emerged, short, broad, claws dripping crimson, eyes burning like a predator's. Logan, Wolverine. For a moment, the two stared at each other. Deadpool raised the broken shield, ready for a fight. Logan hissed one word. "Try me, bub."